Today, I'm joined by Beth from Goody Granola, who's shaking up the granola industry. Beth, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So, my first question is, what is granola?
I think it is typically oats and seeds, and then some brands might add fruit to that or other ingredients. I think that's pretty much what it is.
Does it have to have something sweet to bind it?
Typically, yeah, you'll find that with most granolas that yeah, you're right. You do need something to bind those oats with those other ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are the only things that you can use to bind it, are they sweet?
I mean, mine, luckily I promise myself mine isn't too sweet. But yeah, you're right. Some of them that you can buy are. So, for example, in mine, I use extra virgin olive oil and honey to sort of bind and give it the sweetness. So that's what I use. But yeah, you can find some sort of unhealthy, products that some granola brands will use to bind it that, yeah, just don't necessarily do us any good. But that's what I use. So you're right. You do need something to bind it.
Olive oil, that sounds like a really interesting ingredient to use. I'm not sure I've ever seen that used before.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, and it is extra virgin olive oil as well, which I think is important because there is a difference in the taste, isn't it? And for me, it's just all about the taste. And, so when I was taste testing, all the ingredients, you can taste the difference, can't you, between olive oil and extra virgin olive oil. This extra virgin olive oil tastes a lot better. And actually, it is a better product as well.
Yeah, what does it do to the granola, to the product?
Yeah, it helps it helps obviously bind those oats with the other ingredients. And I mean I think it's not sweet, but it does add, that extra sort of moistness that you need just to help bind it. But the honey is the bit that will give it that bit of sweetness and more binding.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Breakfast cereals in the 80s, when granola came, it was sort of in rock sizes, the size of scones or something.
Yeah.
But that I'm assuming just means they used an enormous amount of sugars probably to bind it all
Yeah.
together.
To really bind it. Yeah. I mean, I've had customers over the years say, "Oh, please, Beth, can you create a goody granola bar?" One day, I'd love to do that. And occasionally I thought, "Oh, can I just set aside a couple of hours to have a go at that?" Whenever I have, I've just thought it needs. I haven't spent the time to find the solution, but on the odd occasion where I've had a go, I've just had to add too much like honey to get them to bind together. I'm like, oh no, that's going to ramp. I don't want that product out there. So yeah, I think you're right. I don't know how they've done it, but I'm sure if you look at the
Yeah.
ingredients, it's probably not great.
Yeah.
I, each their own.
How many recipes did you have to go through to come up with the ones that you've got at the moment?
I mean, I was really lucky with the first one I launched, the nuts and seeds. It was based on my mum's recipe. So, I literally was just like, Mum, what do you put in your granola? Because I realized I was like, that's the only granola that, I don't think, oh, I love that one on its own. So I was like able to just ask my mum, but she just uses two nuts that I don't like. She has hazelnuts and Brazil nuts, which I don't like. So that was the only thing I had to play around with, like, oh, okay, so I've got the basis, but for everything out, for these two nuts, what do I want? So that was it, really, just getting that right.
That's amazing that your mum, I mean, I hope she's getting some royalties from the recipe then.
No.
So to be fair, you have actually changed it, and I think that's a legitimate
Yeah.
recipe change. So I would say that you own that. But what about the other ones? Did they take a lot of work?
Yeah, and then I had to come up with a nut free because of a private airline asking me to. So that was a challenge because it wasn't, that sort of came to me. It wasn't like I sat there and thought, oh, I need another recipe. I've just been like, day by day going along. So yeah, that took a while because again, it's got to taste right. For me, it's got to be good enough that you can eat it on its own. That you don't need to add more sugar. You don't need to spend more money. So yeah, that took a while, but then yeah, I landed on so obviously swapping out the almonds and cashews, kept the oats, sunflower seeds, and the pumpkin seeds, and the extra virgin olive oil and honey. And then I added in. I found that dried goji berries worked with some. Well, I've actually just increased it to 72% dark chocolate, but what then took a while. So once okay, yeah, these are the ingredients on their own, perfect, and together they were great. But it took me a while because I realised it didn't taste as good if the chocolate melted on the oats and the seeds. And so because I make this nut free, so it's quite time consuming. Obviously, I'm used to it now, but I have to wait. So I'll make, I'll batch up and, so I'll whisk up and make up, the oats and the seeds and the honey and the extra virgin olive oil, cook that. Then I have to wait for it to cool down. So I have these plates laid out in my kitchen. It's quite nice because they're plates that belong to my grandma. So I quite like that.
Okay.
Anyway, just a side note. So I have to wait for it all to cool down before I can then add the goji berries and add the chocolate, because I know it does taste different. So yeah, that took a little bit of tweaking, but in my view, nailed it. Again, I eat that one completely on its own, as do my sons actually after school. That's their little after school snack because it's got that 72% dark chocolate and the dry goji berry. So you get that little bit of sweetness that you might crave, around sort of 3 or 4. But I'm like, but this is great. This is way better than you eating like a processed chocolate bar, which of course they will do, but not all the time. So
Yeah, yeah. I think a little bit of what you fancy is okay, right?
yeah, oh yeah, look, absolutely, totally.
I was talking to someone actually who they make activated nuts, and they were saying that many people who struggle to eat nuts because of allergies,
Yeah.
they find that when they eat these activated nuts, they don't have a reaction, which I find is amazing.
That is,
And they do a skin patch test first of all to make sure it's safe. But and after that, they'll eat them and they go, yeah, this is absolutely fine for me. And I would love to know the reason for that because I find it
yeah.
fascinating. So this airline, because I've heard that peanuts were sort of outlawed on planes because even if it's in the air, it can cause trouble for people with peanut allergies. Is that
Apparently,
right? Do you know?
yeah. Well, I'm quite fortunate because this airline that reached out to me, it was because one of their staff members had discovered my nuts and seeds recipe, loved it, and apparently she went to the people and the head chef and so on and said, "Look, this is way better than what we're serving our customers." And luckily, it's this private airline, so they can. I mean, I've never flown on a private airline, but my brief understanding from them is that, like I know they have, obviously they're not going to reveal names, but they've just said, look, yes, we do fly, a lot of Premiership football teams, their internal matches and so on. So they're like, look, they take over the whole plane. They can pretty much decide what food they want on the plane. So hence they will order the nuts and seeds. But anyway, but they said, look, we also need a nut-free one. So that's why I had to kind of create it. But yeah, but luckily they can, I guess on a private airline you can probably do what you want. I don't
I,
know.
yeah,
Who
and
knows?
I think people do, and it's not necessarily all good either.
Yeah.
Have you always been really healthy? Like I feel that you've tried to tackle sweet, let's say sugars here. Has that always been the way that you've eaten?
No, I mean, like in my teenage years, I remember I had like a love affair with Boost bars. I don't know if they still exist, probably do, which God knows how terrible they are. And even in my 30s, I would still be eating like a chocolate Aero bar a day. And it was only, I mean, I'm 49 soon, so it's only really in my 40s where luckily I just thought, no, I really want to think about what I'm putting in because I knew that everything you put in has a consequence. And luckily, I genuinely, strangely, my brain does get joy out of putting good food in, which I'm so grateful for because, I mean, I've got friends that don't have that, so I'm really grateful that my brain's just suddenly gone, oh, actually, so that's luckily. So it's only really, yeah, I'd say in my 40s that I've just thought more and luckily get the joy from putting good in.
Sugar was one of the first things that you wanted to address.
I mean, it was certainly with granola, it was because I mean, I've always been a granola customer. And because I don't live close to my parents, they live like 2 hours away. So it's unfortunately I've never been able to sort of since I left home all those years ago, I've not been able to get my mum's recipe, well, her making it. So I've always been buying it basically in the supermarkets. And I just thought, oh, when I started looking at the ingredients, I just thought, oh, there's a lot of stuff in here that's going to do me no good at all. So I kind of started there. And then I did that embarrassing thing for years thinking, oh, if I feel like this, I wonder if there are other granola customers that do as well that think, oh, this isn't very good. And the taste, I could never find anything that would taste good enough to eat on its own. It would be a bit like cardboard not that I've eaten cardboard. There is an alternative. It's a version of my mum's. Like that doesn't have any nasty ingredients in it. So it sort of went like that, really.
With your kids, are they okay with the switch?
Oh yeah, I mean they love it. You know, they genuinely. I mean, I wouldn't say yeah. I've never actually brought them, you know, sugary cereals. I mean, not that I, you know, no judgment to anyone that does, obviously, but I've just never brought them that really. So yeah, I mean, they love it. And actually, I've got twin boys, and one of them, Luca, without realizing it, actually became my accountability coach. I remember when they were like 6, 7, going, and Luca would be like, "Mum, you've been saying for a while now that you're going to have a go at, you know, taking grandma's recipe and selling it. Well, when are you going to do it?" And I was like, "Oh, you're right." And because he sort of kept on at me, I thought, just got to try, you know. So yeah, so they were sort of great supporters from the get go with the taste and having a go. Hence, they would like draw logos and, you know, the name. Like my son Luca came up with the name. So yeah, not just the food part, which they love. And it was my other son Sebastian. He was off sick one day from school in primary school, and he was like, "Mum, I've got to be able to take this nut free into school." And he said, "No, I think my mates would like it. Maybe I could get them to buy it." I was like, "Well, this sounds great." So he then spent time going, "Oh, let's think about, you know, how would it be packaged?" And so, yeah, they genuinely love the food, but also have been great at helping me with the business bits as well, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I can make great granola, but that's about it.
Oh, that is brilliant. I mean, I love the fact that you're recruiting them as well. I mean, how old are they, by the way?
They're now 12, actually. Yeah. So they've been on with me for a long, long journey on it. That's been good.
When did you start doing this then?
Yeah, it was about, I mean, I feel embarrassed to say because I'm still trying to grow, but it's nearly 5 years ago now. So,
Okay.
yeah, just over 4 years. So, yeah, quite a while. Still going, still trying.
I am always shocked. If you look at, I don't know if it's all businesses, but let's just talk about food businesses. I'm
Yeah.
shocked how many don't even seem interested about making profit because for them, they want to get sales as big as possible and then sell it on to a big company like Unilever or something. And I think what can happen in that situation is your goal becomes how can we make as much money from this as possible? So if
Mm,
that becomes your goal, someone might come to you and go, listen, we can save 2% on costs if we use this ingredient, and you're
yeah.
not necessarily too bothered about what that ingredient is.
Mm,
So if you think about companies like that, it may take 10 years before they're sold off or even longer, and they haven't made any profit, then yeah, I think when people dig down into how many businesses actually make profit, it's a much smaller number than people would like to admit. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think it takes a lot longer to build a business than
okay.
people imagine.
That blows my mind because I mean, for me, you know, from the get-go, I was like, well, this has to make a profit. You know, I can't just afford to do it at a loss. And I was never going to, you know, sort of scrimp on the quality of the ingredients. So luckily for me, it's you know it's sort of paid itself. So I remember sitting down with my husband going, because he's also started his own business years ago. He does have another job as well, a brewery, very opposite. He does beer, I do granola. She sort you out in the evening, I sort you out in the morning. Anyway, and we both agreed, yeah, look, our own businesses must never ever touch, you know, the mortgage, you know, the bills. It can't impact on personal life, because we do have two children, etc. And yeah, and I'm quite proud to say, yeah, Goody Granola has never done that. It does, you know, pay for itself, so that's good. And I can obviously take a little bit of a salary as well. So obviously I've got a long way to go, but yeah, I've never sort of got into debt or anything like that. I just it's just not an option for me, you know. Um, but yeah, I guess for some people at all businesses it is, but yeah, not for me.
That's amazing. That's really good. And so how did you start in the beginning getting sales? Were you just online or were you going out to stores or did you have a stall somewhere?
I mean, it was actually sort of just after lockdown, when I started going for it. And I mean, I had, you know, I didn't have confidence in it. I'd never done anything like this before. So literally, because I just kept thinking, well, if I'm really enjoying this, there must be other granola customers that would as well. And so literally just to start with, once I thought, right, that's it, I've nailed it. I've nailed this. This tastes so good. I can eat it on its own. I mean, I still eat it every day. And I just literally just did a WhatsApp message to friends going, look, I've created this product. I've sort of set it up as a business called Goody Granola, which, Luca came up with. Anybody want to buy it? Kind of literally went like that. And I did have obviously I built my own website as well. So that was great because I've never done that before. So as I would say, if you do, you just click on this link. And yeah, and luckily, and still to this day, anybody that's tried, I've got 3 recipes, anyone that's tried any of them just loves them. There's nobody that's tried any of them and gone, oh no, no, thank you. So luckily, you know, initially obviously friends would kindly buy it and obviously they'd like it, and some of those are still buying it today, and then they might tell other people. So I didn't really approach shops for a while. Again, it was probably a confidence thing and a complete lack of knowledge. I just thought, well, am I allowed to do that? I just didn't know. And so that was a slow start. And I think the first start was somebody, I think one of my sons was like, oh, this boy in my class, his dad has a shop that sells, sort of quality food. It's just they've only got two. Why don't you speak to him? I said, oh, that's a good idea. And so that's where I started. And I was like, look, yes, I have my health and food hygiene certificate. Do you need anything else from me? I mean, I'm not a big business. It is just me. They were like, no, that's fine. And I was like, oh, so it's okay for me to see if other shops want to, so that was kind. And yeah, and then obviously any shop that's tried it loves it, and then we'll stock it. But again, it's the time factor, so I don't really have time to go out and do that work for shops. But so yeah, at least luckily I've got the website orders, I've got subscriptions, which is brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. How long does subscriptions stay being subscribed? Is it once you're in there, you're locked in forever, or do people have
I
a
mean,
window of a couple of years or something?
oh, sorry, yeah, I was going to say from my point of view, they can cancel, change it whenever they want. I haven't actually looked at that data, but I only started a subscription model last year. And I can't think of any that have dropped off because luckily I recognise the names, just lovely. I mean, there's been some that have like rescheduled and gone, oh, like, oh, Beth, I know I've been ordering it every 6 weeks. I need to order every 4 weeks. So they've made tweaks like that. Um, but yeah, so they just, yeah, nobody's sort of haven't got lots of people dropping out or anything yet. But it's not, I'm not sure if maybe it's been a year, but maybe just about a year.
Yeah, yeah. Let's say someone says you're buying a red pepper and they say it's organic, but who really knows it's organic, right? I mean, it would be a piece of cake for someone just to say, to grow it conventionally and say this is organic. So the trust factor goes a long way, I think. So I think if someone trusts you, and I know you use organic ingredients a lot of the time, don't you? And extra virgin olive oil, I'm getting a sense that you really care about the ingredients that go into what you're making. So I kind of feel if someone trusts you, that goes a long way because how close is anyone else to, I don't know, some other brands out there that you might find?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, because I literally eat it every day and I'm happily share that on, on my Instagram account. But I think, but the transparency is there. Like, obviously, I list the ingredients on my website, I list them on the packet. So, at least, I would never, it's not just about, oh, believe me, it's great. It's like, well, look at the ingredients, they're all great. And then obviously once people try it, they do love it. So, but yeah, I'm so grateful that, I mean, I don't get to see my customers because it's all sort of they order online, but the odd communication I do have, like sometimes we'll have a bit of email chat or whatever, or an Instagram message, and they're just lovely. They're just great. And they all like pretty much sign off going, love your granola, I'm like, thank you for motivating me, that, yeah.
Yeah,
So very,
that's
very
really
grateful.
cool.
Motivating words like that, when you're having that day going, oh, am I doing the right thing? And, it's just, yeah, it
Yeah,
boosts
yeah.
that ego. And I'm like, yes, come on.
Well, yeah, imagine how it's going to feel when you're the size of Kellogg's.
Yeah.
Is it possible to say what the split is between website and in store?
I mean, it would be, but I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
To be to make the yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm in about, say me, obviously, I mean, Goody Granola is in about, I think it's about 16 stores now, which is quite a
Okay.
lot, really. So, and then I have got subscriptions, obviously, in individual. I don't know. I mean, luckily, at least I get pretty much an order, each day that's coming through on the website, thank goodness. But because that's the most profitable route for me. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not sure because luckily, at least from the stores order, they're ordering, a lot, um, which is great.
Yeah. 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 I think that's one of the problems when you look, if you look at when you're planning a business and you look on paper, selling on a website makes so much more sense because the profit obviously comes to you. But selling in a store, some stores will take 40% or even more.
I mean, I'm so grateful that people will order on my website because all I sell is my three Goody Granola recipes, So I'm so thankful because that is somebody going out of their way. It's not like they're shopping on Ocado or so, where they can get everything in one go. They've literally got to go out their way, and so I'm so thankful.
Yeah. Are you trying to grow things at the moment? Are you looking for more stores or to go bigger with website sales?
I mean, I'd love to, yeah, definitely. I think so. I'm trying. I think with the website sales. I mean, I don't have a marketing budget. I don't have a marketing team. So all I'm doing is like on Instagram, just trying to post a bit more, see if that can encourage some more sales. I have learned actually recently that if I do an email, that will sometimes create sales. So I probably need to do that on a more regular basis. Um, but I think really as well to grow it, I'd have to step out of production because that's basically my full-time job. If people say, "What do you do?" I just say I'm a baker. I shouldn't say just because man, it's a hard physical job. I mean, my shoulders. Whew. Actually, I had a weekend with friends a while ago, and so we did, a day of like, well, let's get a massage. And I had this massage, and this guy said to me, said, "You've got the shoulders of a bodybuilder." I said, "You've got the same issues." I was like, "If only they were as strong as a bodybuilder." I said, "It's because I'm a baker, so I'm literally just, doing all these funny angles every day." So, yeah. So if I could get out of doing production and fulfillment, because obviously then I'm packaging the orders and posting the orders and local shops I deliver to. Actually, there's one in Cambridge I also deliver to because they then send it out to their other 12 stores. So yeah, that's kind of the time consuming piece. So I think really the next stage is get a loan or get investment. Don't know how to do either of those. Do need to learn how to do that though. And then if I could then find the right people, obviously, because again, the quality, the taste would be number one. Then if I could outsource all production film, then I could really, then my full-time job, instead of being a baker, could be, yeah, growing the business and getting more shops and more website sales.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's going to be quite a big jump, though, isn't it? We're giving someone else the preparing for you and the fulfillment as well. But
The most time though, it's the baking, especially you think my nut free, I've got to let it cool before I can add those last two ingredients. And the vegan one to make that's a bit quicker because there's not the cool. I can just bake go. But actually, with my nuts and seeds, which is my most popular recipe, the one I started with, I've now, as of about 18 months ago, got a fabulous place in Ludlow, which is like on the border of Wales anyway. And they actually make it for me and then deliver it to my little home in these big blue sacks. And I then, open the blue sacks and obviously just put it in the packets. And which is great because, and that took a while because I know exactly, I mean, I eat it every day. I have done for, 8 years. So I know exactly how it should taste. So that wasn't straightforward to get to that step, actually. There was a couple of places and, we tried like 5 versions, like, no, it's still not right. And these guys, this lovely lady, Helen, who owns this place, she purpose built it. Obviously, I've been there. Great. Anyway, and they absolutely nail it every time, because obviously I taste every batch, which is great. So yeah, I would have to go through that process again with the nut free and the vegan, but apparently to find a nut free facility isn't easy.
mm,
Um, So yeah, I think it will be a challenge. And then at the moment, at least I can afford to pay for the nuts and seeds being made. But for the nut free and the vegan, there's not enough money coming in for me to pay that. So that's why I'm like, well, I'd have to get a loan or investment, which would be exciting because again, it's another school day, right? I haven't done it
Yeah.
before. So that's what I'm really enjoying, that I'm just learning all the time.
Hmm. What about distributors or like going to a small chain of shops rather than independents? Is that an option?
Yeah, I mean, it would be, I guess at the moment, the biggest chain I'm in, they put Goody Granola in like 12 or 13.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I've got that. And that apparently just came back because their founder, their owner, happened to come across my nuts and seeds at some fair or something and loved it. It was like, we've got to get this product in. So that was, again, that's what I love. It's, like the air, like, it's based on people tasting it and then coming and going, oh, which is great because it is all about the taste, I think. But yeah, I mean, look, it would be brilliant to get into more, but I think because some like small groups of stores, you have to, I think they only buy from a particular company. I think they call them wholesalers. And then I've had the odd conversation, but then they want, understandably, they want like 20% or whatever it is of the revenue. And then obviously there's what the retailer wants. So profit wise, I just don't know how you make that work. I guess maybe scale solves that problem. Or maybe as well, I mean, I couldn't imagine it, but I guess like you said, some companies, people have the mindset of like, oh, it doesn't matter if we're not making a profit. But I just can't ever imagine thinking that way. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'd love to, but I guess it's the next step, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. What about trade shows? Do you do those?
I don't, and it's purely a time thing. So that's why, like, I haven't really done markets because I shouldn't say lose, but that's how I see it. If I'm standing, which I have done, obviously, on my behind a table for like a day or even half a day, and yes, okay, yes, you are going to sell some, but it's not that guarantee, is it? And that's also in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I could have done this many rounds because my whole life is just based around how many rounds of when I say rounds, so I do like 3 trays at a time. So that's one round. And it's like when my boys were getting to the last year of primary school, they're like, oh, I know we're allowed to walk to and from school now, but we don't really want to. But then if we did, that means you could get an extra round in, doesn't it? I'm like, it really does. I mean, so literally, when I say my life is based around rounds of so that's the thing, it's that time factor, because obviously then you've got to bake more, haven't you, to have for that day, and then you can't bake. So I guess the good thing is the reason I can't do it is because I guess supply and demand, which is great. Like I'm not to say, luckily, I've had quite a few things that have come to me. Because again, the time to go out there and seek new stores and new people. So this is why I think my confidence is getting there now because I know it's a good product. But I will have to sell more in order to get myself out of production and fulfillment, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things I find really impressive is that granola is not a new category. So you've managed to come along and carve out a niche for yourself, and it sounds like you've got some very loyal customers. In fact, it's beginning to sound like if someone tries it, then they're kind of a customer for life. Um, so did that not scare you when you were going into it, thinking that, okay, there are other brands out there that are more established and I'm going to try and go up against them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who if I'm up against them now. I suppose I am because of all the stores it's sold in. But yeah, I just had complete nervousness because I thought, wow, how do you do this? Can I do this? It's just me. I thought, to start a business, you had to have a team of people, for example. I just had no idea. So I was so nervous. So I had no expectations, but I thought, let's just try, Beth. You've got to try, and see what happens and see if. And I suppose the confidence was, though, I knew it tasted great. And I just kept thinking, well, if I've been a granola customer for years, I think other granola customers will like this as well. And luckily they do. So the business is growing, which is brilliant.
Yeah. I've been on stalls with other brands and I find it really interesting to talk to customers because you get an idea of what people are buying things for. And often it's not what you would think at all. Like you might get some customers who go, "Do you know what? I really love a bit of Stilton with some granola on it." And then you might get a few people who say that, and you're thinking, "Wow, that is something I never thought of." But okay, we could do something here with that. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's what you need to be in your niche, but it's still impressive that you've gone up against all the other granolas out there.
Oh, but yeah, you're right. Actually, it is nice when I go into to shops and I see it, and I see my my little packaging. It's really a bit DIY. I mean, literally, because I am when I say DIY, it's literally me putting the stickers on
Yeah.
the packet, and I mean, it is so DIY. But yeah, and I see it against all these big granola brands, and I do sort of think, oh God, that's a bit embarrassing. But then I'm like, but hey, these shops are reordering, it's selling. But yeah, I'm sure it's not based based on that bit. But yeah, you're right. I do think, oh, that's quite good.
Well, look, just purely from a brand point of view, I think when people see what you just showed there as packaging, I think it's more real. You know, in some ways, you might trust that more than something that looks like a Kellogg's or something like that, that looks really slick. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, although it's got appeal visually, it's not necessarily what you feel is more earthy and homely.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that. And maybe you're right. It maybe shows the care. I mean, I mean, I used to have a ruler to center the logo on the packets, but obviously now I just nail it. I'm like, yep, I know exactly where that needs to go. Yeah, so I hadn't thought of that. I mean, maybe it does look like there's a bit of care because if you pick it up, you can see, well, that's obviously had somebody stick that on.
Yeah.
That'll be me.
A common route to for a food brand to go is you start on a stall or somewhere where you've got face-to-face time with customers. And so you're getting feedback from them and understanding what they like, but you're talking to them. And in that process, you don't need any packaging at all, or you don't need your packaging to explain anything because you're there just talking to them face to face. By the time you're in a store, and you're not able to make any communication with the customer, the
Mm,
packaging really has to do that job for you. So,
yeah.
but you're picking up what to put on the packaging at that stage from the years of graft that you've done in the beginning to know exactly why customers like what it is.
I mean, I guess that at least I'm quite lucky that typically my customer, I mean, I'm the customer, that's why I started it because I've always loved granola. And the people buying it are typically like myself. So it's quite easy in that sense, which is great. So grateful. But then also, what's been lovely is like recently a hotel has been buying it and they host rugby teams, for example. Anyway, and it was really nice when the head chef there, he sort of sent me a message going, Beth, I just thought you should know the Springboks have loved your granola that much that they're asking me, can I give them packets to pack in their suitcases? So I've got some of your small ones which they're packing in their suitcases. I was like, oh, brilliant. So it's nice as well because obviously at that level, when it's been sports teams, they all have nutritionists now. So apparently the process goes when they stay somewhere, nutritionists will speak with the head chef of somewhere they're staying, and they have to go through all this whole Q&A, which obviously I'm totally out of the loop on. So that's been quite nice, knowing that Goody Granola is approved and then is loved, and yeah, so that's good, been good as well.
That's literally amazing. I mean, is there a sponsorship deal potential there?
I just got no, but actually it was lovely as well. The Red Roses, England's women's rugby team, the day that they won the World Cup, they had some little nut free, and their nutritionist loves it, and she's been so kind, like putting things on Instagram, recommending it. She obviously works with a lot of athletes, so so grateful, so grateful.
God, that's amazing. So, because you mentioned did you mention with the airline that there was football teams?
Yes, they fly. Yeah, football teams. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems to be you've got a market of sports teams and
Yeah.
very healthy people eating it, which is a good sign.
Yeah, that's what is really nice, and there's like people that have, like Emma Bardwell, who's written books about women's nutrition, for example. I mean, she's been so kind. She's, in interviews in, big publications, she's mentioned Goody Granola. I've never obviously paid her. I can't afford to pay anybody to like Goody Granola. And that would be awful. But I guess some brands have to do that. But yeah, so it's all just been organic. So yeah, I'm really grateful that even people that it's their full-time job is analysing ingredients, nutrition, all those things. I can't imagine what they have to do. Um, and they approve, they like it, not just approve it, obviously, but I mean, they like it.
Yeah, yeah,
Great, because that's
yeah,
what I love, that it tastes so good. And the other bonus is when you look at it, it's like, oh, all these ingredients do a bit of good for me.
yeah,
But it tastes good.
yeah. I mean, I've tried it. It is delicious. It's really good.
Thank you.
Is it Clara Davis, I think, from 100 years ago? She did this experiment where she put kids who just finished weaning onto, she just laid out all these different types of food on a table in front of them, and the kids would just sort of point at what they wanted to eat, and the nurses would feed the kids with the food. So they were getting a sense of what they needed to eat, but they were having really weird combinations. Like some might have orange juice with liver, and crazy things like that. But at
Yeah.
the end of the experiment, which went on for years, all of these kids were really healthy, and one of them had rickets, um, and was even going for cod liver oil by choice. But
Wow.
then when they were fixed, they didn't want the cod liver oil anymore. So I think when things taste real, like obviously you're using
Yeah.
real ingredients, very
Yeah.
real when you include olive oil and
Extra
honey and
virgin
that
oil.
kind of thing. Yeah, exactly, the
Yeah.
extra virgin.
Yeah.
So um, it's things like that that I would imagine nutritionists are very happy about because everything in there is a real food.
True. Yeah, you're right. And it's just, and I never really paid attention, I guess, to those granolas apart from, when I was buying them in the supermarkets, apart from the fact of going, oh, they're just disappointing if I eat them on their own. And, I had that, but I didn't really start looking at the ingredients until I thought about, well, I need to have a go at making a version of my mum's, and it was then I was like, wow, there's black treacle, there's what, I was just a bit shocked. But yeah, because I'm not a nutritionist, obviously, at all, you know, I wasn't sort of looking for that. I was just going by, oh, what does that sound like? Oh, I think that tastes okay. But yeah, but none of the ones in the supermarket I found could taste as good as the one I'm making, or as it turns out, have the quality ingredients that and I now understand why, you don't find extra virgin olive oil and in a lot of supermarkets. I get that because it is expensive, so I understand their method, but yeah, I just want to keep growing, but keeping this consistent taste and quality. It's Goody Granola, it's good, that's the way it has to
Mm.
be.
How big do you want to be?
Oh, I'd love it sold globally. I would love that. I don't know if supermarkets ever appeal. Just, I mean, again, it's I guess ignorance and naivety. But I got to the Times newspaper very, very kindly did this two-page spread on me, and it was purely because my dad emailed the Times going, "My daughter, she because my dad said, ask the Times." I was like, "Dad, the Times are not going to be interested anyway." My thought not behind my back, but my dad just thought, oh, well, I'm just going to do it anyway. He emailed me going, look, my daughter really needs to try and find someone to help her with the nuts and seeds. By any chance, is there anybody you know? And shockingly, the Times went, oh, this sounds quite interesting. Anyway, so they kind of did this two-page spread on me. Of course, not that I didn't pay for it, couldn't afford to do that. And then they invited me to this event as well, which blew my mind. It was a founders event, and I was like, why am I here? Because all these other people were very, very successful. So I got to then kindly meet lots of people, and all their brands are in supermarkets. And yeah, and through those conversations, it was great because they were really honest with me. And I was like, it doesn't sound like a great route to go. So whether I could, I sat here now thinking, could I grow it globally and keep it globally in small change, independence? I don't know if that's possible, and keep growing the website sales. That would be great. So, for example, though, with the trademark, because again, I'd never done that, and after 2 years, I thought, oh, I should try and trademark this. And so I just, went on the local government website, UK government website, and anyway, I went to say, oh, I want the trademark for this, and they sort of replied, going, well, you can't have it because Lidl have it. And they said, and they were quite kind actually. They were like, just carry on as you are. Don't, just forget trying to get the trademark. And pure naivety, I went, no, I want this to be done properly. I want the trademark for it, And they were like, well, you'd have to obviously then go against Lidl. And Anyway, and then kindly some friends were like, oh, look, we've sort of got the inside knowledge there. They've got like 10 trademark attorneys that are given like six-figure budgets just to fight people like you. And I was like, oh, goodness, this doesn't sound good. So I just did this whole thing where I sort of reached out to my customers going, would you sign this petition? Because they literally had Goody in the same category in the breakfast cereals, obviously, that I wanted, but they were using it for hot chocolate. So I was sort of pleading with them, going, please, could you give it to me? I want to use it on granola. I know we're in the same category. And so I sort of did ask customers to sign a petition. And then my son Luca and I came up with a rap. Hey, Lidl, I think we're in a pickle. Anyway, I went like that. And so we sort of did this little rap between us. And I just, videoed it on my phone. And honestly, the naivety of me. And I sort of sent that to their, I found their marketing director, sent that to her. I then hand wrote it out to their CEOs, this guy based in Germany. So obviously I thought a letter might have a bit more impact. Anyway, I just did whatever I could. And shockingly, because obviously I didn't pay any money to try and do anything legal because I don't have money to do that, they actually turned around and went, okay, you can have it. And they still had like another 7 years left. Because with trademarks, well, I only know my brief knowledge in the UK, you buy them for like, you have them for like 10 years at a time. So that was amazing. But I do know that apparently in Europe, there is like I think it's a fast food, a burger chain in Greece that have a burger chain called Goody Burgers or something. So yeah, I don't know how it would work. Like, but yeah, I'd love to try and get it sold all over the place. Definitely.
Amazing. And is there any limit, do you think, to you doing that in terms of ingredients? Do you think the what you're sourcing, you could scale that to that size?
I think so, because they're quite simple ingredients. And at least again, because I eat my nut free every day. That's the after school snack, and then I eat nut seeds every morning. So again, because I know how it tastes, I wouldn't obviously be letting anything go out if it wasn't tasting as it should. So I don't see. I mean, again, this is obviously complete ignorance and naivety, but I can't see why my ingredients would be difficult or an issue. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tried yet.
And just going back to what you said about supermarkets, like your sense of from the people that you spoke to, supermarkets might not be the best to deal with.
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
I think it was the sort of the information they were giving me was that sort of put me off was that you, in a sense, it sounds like you can be sort of working for them, and financially, it's quite can be quite challenging. They'll want you to put X amount into promotions certain times a year, and obviously you have to deal with a buyer, and apparently they can have a reasonably high churn rate, so that start again. So yeah, I guess I've just got a bit put off by some of these things they were telling me. But hey, maybe that's just really silly to think that way.
Well, I don't think you're wrong. And I've sat in plenty of buyers' meetings, and they have extraordinary power,
Right.
extraordinary. And I think it probably can seem very appealing at some point when someone says, "Oh yeah, we can get you in 1,000 stores," and you're just thinking of um, the the numbers and how that would stack up. But actually, if you become dependent on that, then that can change at any one moment. Someone comes along with a product
Yeah,
that they
true.
think they want to give their shelf space over to, and people get pushed. So I think it's far more sustainable if you can build it independently. One guy I spoke to recently said in the US, it's very easy to have a $30 million business just in Whole Foods because there's so many Whole Foods across the US. And that way you stay out of supermarkets and kind of in the independent arena, but premium as well. So there's ways of doing it, I think.
I hope so. Well, thanks for giving me the confidence that it could be possible. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm conscious of time. I don't want to keep you too long, Beth, but I do want to know what is your favorite product from the range?
Ah, so I've got the three. And as I've said already, I do eat nuts and seeds every morning. The nut free I do also have as well as my afternoon snack. So I literally eat those two every day. It's so sad, isn't it? And I eat them on their own as well, which I know is quite controversial. Because a lot of granola customers will add, yogurt, or I've got some customers that will say, in the summer, Beth, we put your nut-free one on top of ice cream. I'm like, and I've had other customers say they put bits of it on porridge, and so it's lovely. Um, anyway, yeah, but I that's how I eat them, literally on their own. So nuts and seeds every morning, nut-free is my afternoon with a cup of tea or a turmeric. I think they call it turmeric latte. I just heat up some milk, put some turmeric in. Anyway, yeah.
Very bougie.
Wake it up.
But have you got a serving suggestion? Is that, I mean, you mentioned a whole range of different ways of eating it, but have you got one in particular you think, no, this is the way to do it?
Wow, I mean, it sounds so boring, but I mean, I just personally just love them on their own. And I love that because then I'm not, I mean, not all other ingredients would have sugar in them, but I think if you do add more ingredients, you might be then adding stuff that's necessarily not that great for us. But hey, look, I love hearing how customers eat it. And I remember a while ago, a customer going, I've just had it at whatever hour it was after a bottle of wine, and it was great. I was like, brilliant. So apparently it goes with wine as well. I was like, great. Thanks for sharing that. Genuinely, thanks for sharing that. So yeah, I think majority of my customers will add yogurt, some milk. Majority, from what I can gather, they're telling me, yeah, typically yogurt and fruit. Sorry, they add lots of fruit as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Because I've been having some, and I feel like I fit into most of those categories. So yogurt for me, but actually, just spoons by themselves are really good. And I'm kind of getting, I like apples, so generally eat a couple of apples a day. But I'm thinking a slice of apple with just dipped into a bunch of granola would be added great flavor and crunch to every mouthful.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm proud of the crunch as well because I didn't really know that was an important factor to people. Had no idea. As I just started being the customer myself, but so many customers have messaged me going, "Love the taste and the crunch is perfect." Which, yeah, I didn't realise that's obviously quite an important factor to people when they're choosing a granola, what the crunch is like.
Oh yeah, the crunch. That's why kettle chips score so highly in addictiveness, and Pringles are pretty close. But if you know about the bliss point, the salt, fat, and sugar.
No.
Okay, so when you get salt, fat, and sugar in the right amounts for a food, your brain lights up literally the same as if you're taking cocaine. So it's very difficult to stop eating it. But
Mm.
what you can do is, so with kettle chips, you think, but they're not sweet. Well, first of all, if you look at most ingredients that's not ready salted, it's probably got something in there that's sweet. But also, they choose a potato that's particularly sweet. So you got the salt, you got the fat from the cooking, and you got the sweet. But kettle chips take it a step further because you've got the crunch, which we go crazy for, and particularly differences in texture. So if you got a soft with a crunch, that's even better. And then kettle chips get burnt bits on there as well. So some of the corners will be a little bit charred or a bit more toasted. So that's another layer on top. And that's why kettle chips and Pringles know this as well. That's why they're very difficult to put down once you started eating them.
Is that a personal insight there? Do you like those? I can't imagine you would, but okay,
Pringles I stay away from because they
yeah,
just.
I don't like them.
I actually think when I taste a Pringle, I'm like, this is not a nice flavor, and I find
Yeah,
myself just eating them, and I'm thinking, I don't like this, but I'm still eating it.
got you.
Uh, but yeah, I do like crisps. I only eat salted crisps, though. I won't eat anything because any other flavor just has is packed with a whole bunch of ingredients that I find very questionable. So I stay
Yeah.
away from those. Beth, thank you very much. That was
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you.